So, welcome everyone to Uncut with Kane Magruder, my weekly podcast that has taken a hiatus for a few weeks, but we're back on track. And this show is being engineered and produced and brought to you by Optic Audio. Again, I want to give a shout out to Justin and his team for putting together a great piece of work consistently every time we shoot and record. Justin and Optic Audio, they have a myriad of things that they offer: photography, podcasting, videos, bios, just you name it. If it deals with optic and audio, he can get it done. So I want to thank my brother for constantly pulling off magic when it comes to this. So we're going to get into this. We have a guest in the studio today. This person is highly regarded in my life. Respected, top of the chart for me, has been a mentor, a pillar in my life, like a beacon and a guiding light to things to keep me on track. She has seen me at my worst and now gets to see me. And I can't even say at the peak because I feel like I'm just still growing and I'm, redefining who Kane Magruder is constantly. So I want everyone to welcome Mrs. Anissa King, formerly Anissa Magruder. She will always be a Magruder though.
Through and through.
Through and through. So thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you.
I know this was kind of spontaneous, to say the least, but I've been meaning to get you here for some time now. I just didn't really know how it was going to happen, or what we were really going to cover, and I just think that this point and topic that I want to cover today briefly will shed some light to the the multitude of people that tune in to hear what my big mouth has to say. So what I want to talk about today is the gap between Gen X's and Millennials. And albeit it's really a 1 year thing, from 80 to 81 is the gap between those two generations. But I feel like the frame of mind and the thinking for both generations are so far in between, like spaced out from one another. It really blows my mind sometimes. And we see it all the time. We see it in the news. We see it on TV. We see it on the streets. Excuse the noise behind us. I got a tractor trailer driving past the studio right now. Still working on soundproofing. So, but back to what I was saying, so Gen X's were born between 1965 and 1980. They came in on the cusp of like the cell phones. We came in like the cusp of the internet, social media. We didn't grow up with all of that stuff, and for the millennials being born between 81 and 97, they don't know what it is to use a damn rotary phone. They don't know what dial-up is, where you could go cook a whole 3-course meal waiting for AOL to upload, you know what I'm saying, come online. But it's more than that to me. It has to do, I believe, the issue that I have with the two generations is like work ethic, their points of view on life, laid back approach to life, to say the least. So, but before we really get into that, if I could get you to possibly just tell my listeners a little bit of like not really much who you are, but you know what you do. You know the relationship with yourself and I should can I say my lifestyle or my past, or I'll let you figure out exactly how you want to break it off. So if you would, Mrs. King.
Well, you brought up work ethic. So if I could tell you a little bit about where it all started for me. Let's see, I was born in 1970. Our family is very creative and artistic, so I got out of high school. Well, before high school, I started drafting and doing architecture.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was my goal in life, to become an architect. And then, albeit known to me that I would go deeper into my brother's lifestyle and try to figure out how two people from the same parents can go two different directions. So I wanted to dive a little deeper, and I totally switched my major when I went to college. I went from architecture to criminal justice, just because I wanted to know where it all changes.
Now, and let me stop you. So where it all changes, like where it all changed for like me, why did I see things differently, or why did I choose a certain route?
Right. Why, how it is that, like I said, two people can come from the same parents. Yeah, you live with dad for a little bit, but sometimes the environment will shape you. And I think it has a lot to do with choices that we
Right.
make. So I wanted to dive a little deeper and figure out, not just for you, but for children in general, where the influences come from and how people make their decisions and how they end up where they end up.
Right.
So, like I said, I went into criminal justice, got my 2-year degree at community college, and I went on 4-year college and got my 4-year degree, focusing on juvenile law.
Coppin State.
Woo woo. And it was very enlightening, very enlightening. So once I graduated college, I wanted to go work at the juvenile justice, being a probation officer.
Yeah, I remember.
Trying to steer some children straight. But I think God had other plans for me. He wanted me to take a step even further back to see where it all began. So I was led to Head Start. I got to work with babies, pregnant parents actually, and babies and children up to the age of 5. And it was like eye-opening for me to see how much parents and their lifestyles can affect their children.
Right.
And
Right.
then the children act out what they live and learn at home. So it was very enlightening for me. I worked there 12 years and I got to see a lot as a supervisor and a home visitor. So I think God wanted me to take a step back before I dove into teenagers and figure out why they're getting in trouble, to see where it all began.
So let me ask you. So I remember you working at Head Start. I used to love coming over there to pick up Tay-Tay and Jaden and getting to know the staff over there. The ladies were so nice, and everybody knew Uncle Kane. You know what I mean? So you getting a chance to work with the parents, and I guess you would call them prepubescent kids, children, some toddlers, because they were fairly young too. And then I remember you were doing home visits too. You would go to people's homes and try to, help stabilize, family structuring. So now because it's been quite some time since you started at Head Start, went through and then left. It's been what, 15, 20 years, right?
I started there in, gosh, let's see, I left in 2020. I was there. Yeah, I was there for 12 years.
Okay, so have you had a chance to run into any of the children that you had a chance to like mentor or build a relationship with or anything like that since you have left Head Start?
Well, as far as Head Start, the parents still reach out to me. I still get, messages, hey, where can I go for this? Where can I go for that? So the impression I left on those families is long lasting.
Right.
I was very helpful there.
Yeah, they loved you, man.
They still reach out to me. I still have a good relationship with a lot of the staff there. The girls that worked for me were phenomenal. But as far as the children, I also worked because I used each of my employment opportunities as a stepping stone to where I'm at now. Right. So I did work briefly for 3 years at the Jefferson School, and I worked with delinquent children from middle school and high school. And I still ran into some of those high school children out in the community. They would still call me. Yeah, I would see them. They still would tell me how much they miss me and love me and thank you. So, what you do, is remembered.
It truly affects generations. I'm telling you.
When people see how much you care, they'll remember.
Yeah. I have run into so many people over the years. They, of course, everybody says that we look so much alike. We got so many of the traits and physical features of mom and dad alike. And we're both generation or Gen X's. We're 4, sometimes 5 years apart. So we grew up in the same era pretty much. But anyway, so there was so many times that I've run into people out in the community and they find out that I'm Anissa's brother or Anissa is Kane's sister, and they'd be like, oh my God, I love your sister. She did so much for us. How's she doing? Where's she at? People were overwhelmingly thankful for your heart. To me, I've always seen you that way. I've always seen you that way. From when I was young and used to get my ass whipped all the time, I used to see you cry and you upset that, it would be me, so to speak, but you always had this protective thing over your brother and for your brother. And I think that rolled out into your jobs. You've always loved very hard. You definitely have always worn your heart on your sleeve when caring for people, being honest with them, about where they are, and trying to meet those people where they are without, what do you say all the time? You don't lower your standards to raise someone else's. But in that same context, like I said, you would go into the homes and, in some of the places that you yourself had come from. I can remember us living in Bishop, back in the day, and, to watch Bishop change and transform over the last 30 years into what it is now, it's a far cry, and to me it's sad to see how it's been kind of let go and run down, and they've just used that place as like an outcast melting pot. But to stay on track here, so Head Start, you left from Head Start, you did some work at the Jefferson School, I remember that. you were telling me some stories about how you would have to like hold kids when they were like acting out. You would have to sit like Indian style, put your arms around them and hug them, until they calm down.
Therapeutic hug.
Listen, I think that would piss me off so bad, if you could hold me still while I wanted to zap out. But that is probably really calming.
It's very calming to a child who doesn't know how to regulate their feelings.
I got you.
You need to tighten them up and let them know, get yourself in control. Because sometimes it takes the weight to let them breathe. Yeah.
Damn, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That really does. That makes sense. So, okay, so tell me a little bit about what you do now.
Okay, well, when I decided to leave Head Start, I went to work for the state of Pennsylvania, behind a desk at DSS. And after a while, I was only there for about 6-7 months, and I was like, this is not for me. This is not what I intended to do with my life, sit behind a desk and type in numbers. I was always, I needed to help people. I needed to be one-on-one with people. So I talked to my husband. I was like, look, I need a break. So I stayed home for 4 months, which he supported highly because he knew it was just mentally draining. And I ran into an old friend, and she told me that she had a position opening with the state of Maryland. And that's where I'm at now. I'm at the Carroll County Health Department. But my office is at the Westminster Police Department, which is very ironic if you know anything about the Magruders. Ending up at the police department helping individuals who are in crisis and overdose. We respond to overdoses every day. I have a team of excellent peers. And but every position that I've had was structured to get me where I'm at now. Once I left the position, I didn't say, okay, where am I going to go now? It was always a plan. I had a plan in mind. I wanted so much experience. I've worked at women's shelters. I've had almost 30 years experience in human services, and it led me to build on to where I'm at now. So that's important. You have to build, your experience.
That you led me into my first and most important talking point. Okay, so one of the things that I see majorly different between the two generations is, I don't want to say work ethic, because I don't want to take away from the millennials and saying they don't work hard. I don't want to say that. I don't want to paint them as this lazy generation of kids or youth or young adults. But the difference that I see is that, and this is a fact, like you can Google this, it is stated that millennials will change jobs within a 10 or 15 year period up to 30 times with no rhyme or reason. Like you just laid out like 4 jobs, right, that ultimately changed because of yours truly, from you being a world famous architect and draft designer to being in the field of, I don't want to call it like psychotherapy, but like human development, youth development, juvenile justice, but it all fits in, right? It all made sense to what you were doing, the different phases and jobs that you had. And you had, albeit maybe you didn't have the foresight to know exactly where it was going to end, but you knew, okay, this is the path that I'm on, and if I stay this course, I'm gonna get to where I believe I need to be. Now with the millennials, like one week they might, want to work at Microsoft, and then the next week they working at Papa John's, and then in 2 months they working at FedEx, and then they take 2 months off because they feel like they're being slaved out, because working at FedEx is too hard, and then they want to be a teacher. I don't, and I've talked to millennials, and none of them can give me an answer or a reason why they aren't goal seeking. They have a belief that, and this is just my experience, and this is me personally, so you guys, can attack me on this if you want, but I say, what is your 10-year goal? Where do you believe that you want to be in 10 years? All of them just say, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to own my own business. Okay, do you know what business? No, I just, maybe I want to start a clothing line. Okay, so then, me, I'm always trying to mentor. I'm always trying to help lead and give somebody a stepping stone. Like, okay, let's research that. Let's do our due diligence and find this out, right? It fades away so fast that in a week's time, they have changed. No, Kane, it's not the clothes, man. I want to design computer programs. How did you get there from clothes? So, I guess the question I want to ask you is, if we are to leave our nation, our country, your grandchildren, now mine, I have one as well. If we're going to leave this country over to the millennials and controlling lifestyle decisions on so many levels, how can we trust that if they can't even hold a basic job for a year or two?
Well, I think the difference between the Xers and the millennials, we had structure, we had discipline, we had
ass whippings.
We had those. But we seen our parents struggle, and we knew what it took, because we got to get a job and we got to stay there because we got bills to pay. And I don't care how much you didn't like your job. You hate getting up in the morning and going. You knew you had to go because you had bills you had to pay.
There was no other way.
There was no other way. That's what it needed to, take to get it done. So lots of structure and discipline. Now, I think with the millennials, they're more fluid. They just flow. They're in the YOLO. That's the YOLO
Right.
generation. You only live once, and whatever makes you happy. But I'm here to tell you, happiness is temporary. Just like some of those jobs are temporary. So if you're seeking happiness, you'll be doing this for the rest of your life, trying to figure out what makes you happy. So you got to get up. That you got to have that joy in your life and in your soul. Like, whatever I do today, I'm still gonna, carry out the joy. But you got to have direction. And a lot of children or young adults these days don't have direction. Well, today, like you said, I work at Papa John's, and the next day, there's a job at FedEx. And just a quick story, I have a girlfriend that she used to work for FBI. She had a son. She got him a job at FBI. He was there maybe a year. He quit to be a party planner.
Wow.
Who does that? Who leaves a federal position
with
benefits,
retirement,
right, to be a party planner because it didn't make him happy? So they're constantly seeking what makes me happy today, and it changes like the wind.
And it's like, all right, and I know I can say this without upsetting anybody, because this just is what it is. No matter what job that you're in, like, all right, we come from an artistic family. So for me to own a tattoo shop, art gallery, just this whole thing, taking art to the streets, it just exudes art, right? This is in my blood. I love this. I love doing what I do. I love making people happy. I love designing, I love drawing, tattooing, painting, and all that. But there's some damn weeks when I am sick of seeing people sometimes because things are tough, bills have mounted, I'm just in a tough place, and albeit sometimes I don't feel happy. You know, we've all had moments in life when we're not happy, not necessarily with, we're not happy with where we are, but we're not happy with what we're going through. And that can't be the deciding factor to change my route in life. It shouldn't be. Like, if I decided tomorrow I'm not happy and I say, well, I don't want to be a tattoo shop owner no more, and I just, can I let all this go? Can I just throw all this money and time and all these, my supporters and people who have helped me get here, just throw all of that away? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't make sense for the millennials to think that that is safe. I think that's what I'm getting to. It's like, it's just not safe. It's not conducive to having a successful, like, stabilizing future. You know, listen, I've seen you work your ass off, Anissa. You know, I've always admired that about you so much, and I know we get that work ethic from Mom. I know we do. You know, Mom just retired less than a year ago. Mom's in her 70s. She's still hard-headed. She gets out there, she weeds, she cuts the neighbor's grass, push mower. Like, she's always wanting to try to work and do something with her hands and develop and build. And so I know we saw that. And as much as we hated that shit growing up, having to do all of the household chores and you trying to take care of me, and like, it was exhausting growing up, but it paid off. You know, I think it has been lost on the millennials, but they would be quick to say that we are at fault because the Gen X's, we gave birth to the millennials. And if the millennials had seen the Gen Xers working as hard as the baby boomers.
Well, the baby boomers were stuck in warehouses.
Right. But but our parents came from that generation.
Yeah.
So we saw that work ethic, like you stated. We saw the blood, sweat, and tears of working in a warehouse or working behind a desk, or like Mom, you know, getting up at 4:00 in the morning, driving an hour and a half to get to a job where she had no skill, no training, no college degree,
no high school diploma,
a woman in a field of men, not, you know, respected, not revered, anything, to work her way to the very top of her field. And, you know, I remember when it was all said and done, they laid everybody off in her company but her. Mm-hmm. Like, that is a testament to hard work, staying the course, having faith and believing. That is something the millennials don't have, but they blame it on us.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I know there's millennials who see their hardworking parents and then they adapt that as well. They have a strong work ethic and they get up and they, you know, teenagers, they get up and go out and they try to find a job and they don't want anybody to do anything for them and they buy their first car. There are some out there.
Super independent.
Exactly. But, you know, we as Xers, we saw the end, we see the end result. We see the end of the road. This is where I want to be. I think a lot of millennials see tomorrow.
Right.
You know, they don't see the end result. We know what we're striving for because we want, you know, retirement. We all, they say we're all living just to see retirement, and hopefully we'll all see it all, but they see tomorrow. So whatever makes me happy today is what I'm going to do. They see no boundaries, no restrictions. I know there's some free spirited, young adults out there who just trying to find their way. I get it. But once you know what you want to do, you have to get on a path and go in that direction. You have to. You have to build upon your experience if you want to improve and see the fruit of your hard work.
A lot of it, though, I blame social media. I blame the era of the internet. Now, don't get me wrong. I take nothing away from like TikTok and YouTube and these people who have created multi-million-dollar businesses by getting streams and getting likes and getting followers, creating videos. Listen, that is creative juices flowing. That is using your brain, your mind, everything that you have in you to finance yourself, finance your family. Many of them go back and they take care of their families and their parents, and kudos to them, most definitely. But I think it has shown those other millennials, the lackluster millennials who are like, oh, well, that's what I want to do. I can be a YouTube sensation or overnight, and I can make a TikTok video and just do this. Like about a month ago, I had a young lady who got kind of close to me, and love her to death. I have a lot of respect and care and admiration for her. And, she chose to go another path. And so, we're not in communication anymore. But she had got, I guess, back with like an ex-boyfriend or something. And this young man is in his early to mid-20s and was on Dr. Phil not too long ago. His mom and his stepfather took him on Dr. Phil because he refuses to work, because he says, I am going to be a music star. I am going to be a TikTok, YouTube sensation, right? So they get him, and it's on, you guys can look it up. I'm not going to give you any names. I'm not blasting anybody. But Dr. Phil gets him on live TV, excuse me, and says, okay, great. That's what you want to be. Millions of people are watching this today. Tell the viewers why they should, follow you and why you're going to be the next sensation. And he says, well, I can sing and boo. So Dr. Phil's like, okay, well, sing us something. Stone cold, broken record. Horrible. Like the boy he couldn't hold a note to save his life. You know what I'm saying? And so there was like no response from Dr. Phil. He was like, okay, so let's look at your followers. So he goes and he says, you've been on YouTube for 2 years now and you have like 70 videos and they have been viewed 38 times, and you have like 12 followers, and on TikTok you have like 15 followers, and you have like he had no following. So he was asking them, like, why do you still believe that now after 2 years of you digging in, as you say you have been, you are nowhere with this? Your family is trying to just help stabilize your lifestyle. Like, if that's what you really want to do, you find a job, you work at it, you save some money, and in the spare time, you work on building your craft. And I think that's the approach that most millennials should really take. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, find a job, like I said earlier, Papa John's or FedEx or something. And yes, you may not be happy every day, but you have to find happiness within yourself.
Right.
First and foremost.
Right.
So if you can do that, but then save money and then on the side do your videos, and you do all this. But they believe, because they have seen it on the internet, this is supposed to happen overnight. Yeah. What do you say to, like, you have a teenage son, right? If he came to you tomorrow after all that he has shown you to be an academic, because the boy is smart, we know that, right? He is intelligent and insightful. He has vision, right? But what if he came to you tomorrow and said, Mom, you know what? I don't want to go to college.
That's okay.
I don't want to get a 9-to-5.
That's okay.
I want to be a TikTok, YouTube sensation.
Here we go. I tell him all the time, there's a difference between reality and there's a difference between dreaming. Okay. Everybody has the ability to dream.
Right.
And oh, I wish I could do this, or I want to do that. Yeah, I dream too.
Right.
There are things when I was younger, I wish I could do this, or I dream that I can be this. But there's a difference between reality and dreaming. You can dream, but reality is you got to grow up. You got to get a job. You
right.
have bills to pay.
Grab life by the horns.
Yeah, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, how are you going to pay for that? Because I'm not.
Right.
I earn my own money. This is my money. It ain't your money.
Facts.
So it's okay to dream. Everybody has the ability to dream. Nobody said you can't dream, but work while you're dreaming.
With you saying that, do you feel like, what is your opinion on millennials feeling entitled? Like you say, this is my money. I work for this. I put in 40 hours a week, or 80 or 90 hours every 2 weeks. And you want these J's, and you want, this iPhone and these AirPods and all this other stuff. And you have the ability to go to get a job, but you don't want to get a job because it's not the job you want.
Is that the job that's being offered to you? I mean, unless you have 5 different people knocking down your door to say, here's all these opportunities, sometimes you got to suck it up and say, yep, you know what, this is what I got to do right now if I want to get from A to Z. Sometimes you got to use those little jobs as stepping stones, like I did. You have to build on the end. You don't start from the roof down. You start at a foundation when you build a house. So what is your foundation? You got to have hard work. You got to start from somewhere. It's okay to dream.
Right.
But right now,
I believe we all have dreams.
Yeah.
We all have aspirations to be maybe something more than we are right now, or where we see ourselves to be in the future, or we want our legacy to be. Because that, to me, that is my big thing. And I say that a lot to people. I've said it on the podcast a few times. My legacy. I'm in my legacy building mode right now. What is going to be remembered, and what am I going to leave behind? And not necessarily financial or money, but what impression. What lessons have I taught? And like I said, now having, my daughter in my life, and my grandson, now he's only 10 months old, but, when I'm gone, what is it that he is going to remember his grandfather for? Is it my tenacity at building and growing my brand and supporting my family by doing not anything to get by, but doing the proper things to get by while it being sustainable? You know what I'm saying? And that's why I just feel like there is a sense of entitlement by the millennials that gives them, they feel like they have the right to blame us for their lack of work ethic in some cases. They blame us that I hear this one all the time. Well, if you grew up in my generation, you would be the same way. Well, I can't argue that because I can't fast forward 25 years and say, oh yeah, well, if I was born in 1985, I wouldn't be this way. I don't know that for a fact because I would have been a different person. You know, my parents and what I saw them go through would have been totally different. But I can't use that across the board because there are so many millennials that I know who have parents, like you said, work their ass off, work their fingers to the bone, and their children still have this great sense of entitlement, like, I'm not going to be a slave like you were. I'm not going to do that, and, you know, they owe me this.
Don't nobody owe you nothing. If you didn't earn it, don't expect it.
Well, there it is, people. That's what it is, and that's what it amounts to. You know, again, I'm not trying to bash, millennials in any way. I'm not taking, a shot at any generation. I want to make some points that will possibly give some millennials out there a different point of view, or a different optic on life and how to achieve your goals. I'm always telling Sean, write down your ideas, write down your goals, because the moment you put pen to paper, they become real. They become real. You can see it, and you can start scratching them off and checking them off as you accomplish them. And we get a great sense of being when we do those things. Like, small steps, man, get us there. But I just think that, presenting this today to the listeners, hopefully, many of our listeners are Gen Xers. So they have millennials as children, and some of them are younger. And I want the platform and the lines of communication to be open more, because our lifestyle and the country and so much that is before us is in their hands. And I feel like there's a part of me that's afraid for the country and for, our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren or whatever to come, that it's going to be lost on the age of the internet. Like, everybody thinks you can Google it and the answer is there, and that's the way to live your life. It's not. You got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah,
you have.
That's not reality.
There is a real quick. There was something I was reading on News Brief a couple weeks ago. Libraries are closing across the country at an alarming rate. Nobody is going into libraries to read, to study, to do anything, because you have the whole Encyclopedia Britannica at your arm's reach, right? But I know when I was in school, there was nothing like being in the library, if you studied, having the books in front of you, digging through them, taking notes, like being engaged, right? There's colleges that are closing down their libraries because they are formatting their library onto the internet, onto USB flash drives and computers. And I think if we get to that point, we are going to see a major influx of laziness like never before. Listen, there's a quote that has been in hip hop and in the world, so many times before, that says you want to hide something from a brother,
Put it in a book.
put it in a book, right? And I just want to say to all of you people out there, pick up a book, read, study, do your due diligence.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself, work hard, don't blame others for your lack of, or you not having, because like Anissa said, nobody owes you nothing. If you want it, get up, go get it, work like everybody else does. So, well, we got to bring this to a close today. Anissa, I want to thank you for sharing with us today, giving us this time, your time, to just enlighten us and to tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and sharing your opinions with us.
Well, you're welcome.
It's highly
My pleasure.
appreciated. You're highly respected. I love you and adore you, and how you feel and how you see things goes a long way with me. So I want to thank you again. Give a shout out to my engineering team, Justin and his crew at Optic Audio once again. And this is Uncut, and I am Kane Magruder. And until next time, love yourself, love those around you, be good. Peace.